Hi everyone, and welcome to build a CV and write a cover letter. So thank you for those who joined us in the first session. I hope you really enjoyed that. I certainly did. There were some fantastic speakers, and I'm lucky enough today to have Hannah with me, who's going to absolutely rock this presentation, talk to you about CVs and writing a cover letter. I'm going to be quite honest now. I threw Hannah under the bus last minute, and that's how great she is. You know, she said, "Don't worry, I'm going to turn up and I'm going to deliver this." So yeah, I really hope you enjoy this. So I'm going to just introduce Hannah, and over to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Lawrence. Hi everyone, I hope everyone is well. Thank you for having me. So my name is Hannah Awanuga. I am a Global Diversity and Inclusion Vice President for Barclays. I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that means, but I'm also the founder of Rarity London Career Development Services, which is a service that I provide to young professionals who are wanting to develop their careers or wanting to career transition or are looking for a job. So when Lawrence said to me that, he'd like me to come and do some work around CVs, I was absolutely delighted to come and join you guys today. So really excited. Thanks, Lawrence.
Brilliant. So in this session, what we're going to be looking at is identifying your strengths and skills. So we're going to think about what are your strengths and what are your skills. Then we're going to look at what are the core structures of writing a CV. And then to go with that CV, we're going to have a look at actually what goes into your letterhead. We're going to take it step by step and slowly so you can get the most out of it as well.
Awesome. So let's get straight into it. So this stat is a really, really important stat. 62% of employers are specifically looking for soft skills. So, back in the day, everyone was really, really caught up on making sure that they had the technical skills, whether it was accounting or whether it was business or strategy. But now in this day and age, more and more employers are looking for them transferable soft skills. And so when we think about soft skills, what are we talking about here? We're talking about skills such as problem solving. How are you on your feet? How are you able to address critical situations and really deliver in quite pressured times. And we're thinking about how are you creative? What type of creativity flows do you have? Your people management skills, negotiation, and the fact that and the fact that emotional intelligence is becoming more and more of a skill that employers are looking for. And so it's really important that when you're writing your CV, number one, your CV and your key skills are right at the top, but you also make sure that you put down your soft skills, because that is actually what's now drawing a lot more attention than ever before.
So 90% of recruiters will check your social media presence to learn about you. So this is kind of the new age times of looking into the background of people as well. So one of the things I would say is actually be careful with your digital footprint, but also celebrate your successes on social media, particularly if you've got some professional successes or even hobbies or interests like that as well. Social media is often viewed after references and company websites. So that's just trying to marry up potentially of what you put down in your CV. Does that match up with what you're saying on your social media as well? So I know some people don't really like to embrace social media, but I think it can be a good platform to showcase what you are doing. 1/3 of employees will use social media to find new recruits. And the way the world is changing, like if we just look like the last 3 months, people are going online and creating their own YouTube demonstrations, like people being presenters or anything like that. So yeah, I really encourage people to use social media and actually showcase what you can do. Use it as a platform to potentially get headhunted as well. And I think one of the big ones that is used in the professional realms and business is LinkedIn. So when you are of age and you're above 14, because we're all about safeguarding here, is sign up to a LinkedIn account and reach out to people who might be in the field that you're interested in and ask them questions. That was covered heavily on our last talk.
Absolutely. I think it's just to go on that point around LinkedIn. LinkedIn, the way I call LinkedIn is almost like your online CV. And it's a great opportunity for you to showcase, you know, what your interests are, what you follow, and what type of posts you put. And also, when employees are now looking, they do go on to LinkedIn to look at your LinkedIn profile and really try to see the type of person you are. It's one thing to sit in front of a recruiter and say to them, you know, I'm honest, I'm interested in all of these things, but then your social media presence, especially LinkedIn, should reflect that. And so I think it's a really, really good shout, Lawrence, to say that, you know, as soon as you're of age, I've seen loads recently actually of students getting LinkedIn profiles and putting that they're a student and this is what their interests are. So you're never too young to start to get a LinkedIn profile. And I think that's a really, really invalid point. A really valid point, sorry.
Thank you, Hannah. So I'm just gonna say identify your strengths and skill sets. So I want you to do an exercise here, potentially, is in the chat, just to say what you think are your top strengths. If you don't feel comfortable writing in the chat, just write it down on a post-it note in your notebook alongside. I think this is a really important exercise, and it's something I wish I had done before in terms of identifying what are my strengths and my skills as well. Because when you do go to interviews, you will be asked this, and then actually they go further and say, can you demonstrate where you use this strength or this skill? So what we'll do, Hannah, is we'll move on, and when people start putting them in, I'll flag up on the screen for you.
Okay, awesome. And so now I think we're going to go and dig a little bit deeper into CVs. And for those, I know, you know, a lot of you will know what a CV is, but a CV is a document that you produce that gives employers or potential employers a snapshot summary of you and your experience and your education. It usually has a number of different components to a CV, such as a personal statement. It has a key skills. It should have a key skills section. It should have your education really clearly outlined, and then any work experience that you have, any hobbies and interests. I think that's one of the ones that have become really, really popular now, and then also your references. So as it said, so this is the first time that this is the first contact your potential employers have with you. So as I said, the summary of experience is really important, goal-orientated and relevant, and authentic and honest. And that's one of them things where when you're writing your personal statement, it's really important to make sure that you are authentic and you are honest, because this is the first impression that an employer gets of you.
Yeah, and it's also, I say, like you said about LinkedIn, it's marketing yourself, you know, and speaking about yourself positively there as well, and showing that you're the ideal candidate for this job, and also for them to invest their time with you. So just think about that when you still get into writing your CV. And you should be also confidently be able to explain what you have written on your CV. So don't make it into a Pixar story or a Disney story, and then you're not able to explain it and back it up with evidence as well.
Yeah,
so just before we go on to the next one, Patricia's kindly put in her strengths and her skills. So while I'm good at sports and geography, and I can learn things quickly, I can also sort of negotiate. And that's actually a good starting point, Patricia. What I like there is you actually said you're a problem solver by saying you can sort things out quickly. So it's the basis is there. You just got to work on what's the type of language you put on that CV to make sure that stands out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, thank you. And are you ready to go to the next slide, Hannah?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool.
So to me, this is a really interesting question. What kind of company do you want to work for? And it's really difficult. There's so many sectors out there. There's so many organizations. You've got startups, you've got large corporations, and it can actually feel like a bit of a minefield, not knowing where to start. And so for me, a good starting place is always to just take a bit of time to do some reflecting. What do you enjoy? You know, where do your values lie? What's important to you from an employer? It's not only that they are a large corporation, but actually, what does their culture say? You know, who do they? What does the company look like? Who are their clients? these are really, really important things that you need to consider when you're thinking about applying for jobs or starting a career. You know, it's important to understand that it's not only the employer that wants to get the best candidate, it's you who also needs to make sure that you get the right employer. So I think that's there. It always works two ways. It's really, really important.
Brilliant.
So as we move on, we're starting to look a little bit more into strengths, skills, and experiences. And then we have what we call natural strengths. We have skills and we have experience. So as Patricia said earlier, when she said that, you know, she's quick, she can handle problems quickly, that would be a natural strength, but one that you can build into problem solving, but also into being able to adapt to environments really quickly. And so how you would articulate that on the CV is that you would say that you're able to work in pressured environments, you're able to work on time critical projects, and you're able to work at the best of your ability. When you're thinking about skills and you're thinking about experience, you know, as young people, young professionals, you would start to think about where in your school life, in your home life, you have had to work under pressure and how you've dealt with that, and really try to extract that into an interview or in your CV.
Yeah, and just what I would like to add to there is you also have hard skills, and these are normally taught or developed over time. These could be things like learning to speak French, Spanish, handling money, using Excel or Photoshop. These are skills that you have developed over time. Your experiences are essential because they allow you to explain how you've used your skills. For example, demonstrating good organization when prioritizing school issues to address your hard work as well. Or effective communication. You might be part of the school council and you're leading it potentially. How do you communicate with the various people in that group? Because they're not all going to take it in the same manner.
Yeah, really, really good. Good point.
So here we've got some key words for strengths to use on your CV. So if you know these are more dynamic kind of words that you can put on your CV and what your strengths are. So if we just look back to you learn things quickly, you can actually change that out and say you're adaptable. You know, you adapt in situations very quickly. You're hardworking, enthusiastic. So these are some really kind of powerful keywords for strengths to use on your CV. Hannah, if there's anything you would like to add in terms of what you've seen potentially in terms of strengths?
Yeah, I think there's some real good ones in here. So being adaptable and dependable, passionate, enthusiastic. If I also think about what's really important, we talked a lot about being able to work independently. So we haven't talked about, but being able to work independently, also being able to work in a team is really important to be quite upfront about that, because actually, if you think about it, in most organizations you will be working in a team, but like if we're in situations like we currently are, and a lot of people are working from home, you should be able to also be able to be adaptable and able to work from home as well independently. So I think that's also something really important to pop down as well.
Brilliant. So we've done this task. I actually got ahead of myself in terms of what are your top strengths, but just keep on thinking about that and write that down. You don't have to share that for anyone at the moment, but just be aware that, you know, at some point when you do go through your interviews, you will need to be sharing those strengths and being able to speak about them confidently as well.
Yeah, and if you find it difficult because I know that sometimes when you're thinking about what your strengths are, it can be quite difficult to identify them. I would say speak to somebody, speak to a teacher, a mentor, your head teacher, and or a parent or a friend, and just ask them, you know, like if they were to describe you, what are the strengths that they would pick out on you? And that's just a great starting block, because once once someone tells you that, oh, you know, you're good at this and you're good at that, then you're able to kind of identify other strengths that you may think, oh, actually that leads on to that. So I would say if you do struggle with that, because it can be quite difficult at the beginning, you know, speak to somebody and just have that conversation, and then I'm sure there'll be loads of skills that you identify.
I'm just going to pause there for a moment, Hannah, and potentially put you on the spot. We've got a question that's just come in. And it's like, what does solution focus mean? I mean, how would you sum that up in the easiest way?
So this is one of the things that I actually use really, really often. So it's great that you've asked a question. And it's, for me, it's when I'm leading my teams, and they come to me with problems. I say, well, what's the solution? And so therefore, for me personally, solution focus is when you're able to understand what problems you have, and but how do you solve them as well. And sometimes you may think, well, actually, if I'm asking because I don't know how to solve them, but it's just about being solution focused. So it's about trying to understand the problem and think about what potential things you could do to solve that problem. It's better to come to a teacher or a line manager or a boss with some options around, this is the problem we have, but these are the things I'm thinking we could do. That is a better conversation than just going to your boss and saying, I don't know what to do. So for me, solution focus is very much about being able to identify an issue, but then also being able to think about one or two options that you could do to provide the solution.
Thank you. That was clearly explained. I'm clear on it now.
Awesome.
So let's just go to the next slide. Oops. There we go.
Yeah. So I think here we're doing more stuff around skills. So if you think about it, I like the way it's got video editing and graphics design and preparing food. And what that says to me is that actually, it's not always about the traditional skills that that comes out on a CV. There are some other skills that actually can identify similar strengths in the workplace that you may not particularly think are appropriate for workplace. So for instance, public speaking. If you're someone who's always in the class debate, if you're someone who's always asking questions for with your teachers, if you're somebody who's ready to be in assembly, ready to be speaking at presentations, delivering presentations at events, that is public speaking. And so therefore that would be a strength of yours that you would want to put down on your CV. Other stuff which is more prominent today in society is about being creative, is about video editing, graphic design, social media management. They are all really key skills that are now becoming more and more relevant. And I would say for the generations that are really tech savvy and focused on social media, don't be afraid to put them down. They are really important to actually highlight, because a lot of organizations are now looking for tech savvy people who are really able to adapt to a changing environment.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I think just a few things that I'd add to that is, even with tech savvy, is a lot of people don't start out as tech savvy. But one of the beauties that we do have, well, you do have, because when I was growing up, we had dial-up internet connection. I won't get into that. But you're able to go and Google a lot of stuff and do your YouTube tutorials. So feel free to go out there and learn different skills as well. One of the things that I wish I had done a lot earlier in my life was public speaking. I've never volunteered for it, and it's only something that I feel like I'm getting better at now. But before, I would go up and try to speak, and it just wouldn't work. So definitely try and get involved in public speaking. Even just start off speaking to yourself in front of the mirror. I mean, yeah. I've heard that so many times when I was a kid. I heard it, I'm like, really? But I even do it to this day when I've got a big talk coming up. I practice in front of the mirror as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also don't forget that, a lot of people use social media now. So if you're on Snapchat and you're talking to your followers, or you're on Instagram, that's all a form of public speaking. So don't think that you have to follow the traditional ways of public speaking. Every time you're in front of people and you're speaking and they're listening, that is public speaking. So if you want to get better at it, it might be that you need to up your Snapchat game.
I think that's a very good way to actually explain this, is that some of you have these skills. It's just about unearthing them, because you actually do a lot of them day to day. Maybe, is that right, Hannah? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. So what experiences do you have? So reflect on all the things that allow you to demonstrate key skills. Now, I know the audience that we're talking to today, you might say, well, I haven't got a job. I've got work experience this month, but a lot of you might be doing things, helping family, friends in the shop, helping your dad or your mum at work as well. These are all parts of your experience of life as well. It could be you're involved in scouts, you play for a football team, and you're the captain. You might be in charge of, collecting the fines for players who are late. That's leadership. So you have experiences. It's about finding them and then being able to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you don't mind, Lawrence, I'd just like to give a bit of a story, actually, because this would really bring this to life. So I've worked at Barclays for 14 years. I started when I was 17. And before that, I actually worked at the Halifax when I was 16 for a year. So I started my career in banking really, really early. So the first ever interview I had, I was a 16-year-old girl. I went to I lived in South London, so you can just imagine me. My first interview, the only experience I could draw on was my experience as a prefect at my secondary school. And so therefore it wasn't anything to do with work. It wasn't in a big corporate company. It was just what I had experienced in my secondary school as a prefect, and the responsibilities that I had as a prefect and how I rose to them. And so therefore that actually got me my first job at the Halifax, and it was just being able to extract the skills from being a prefect, leadership skills, people management, stakeholder management. You're dealing with your head teacher and you're dealing with teachers, so they are my stakeholders, and using that example to be able to demonstrate to an employer that I have got the basic skills for the job. And I got the job and was able to then further my career. But just to say that you don't have to have had a job, but you need to be able to really think about your experiences as young adults and then put them into practice.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic showcasing of that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
So experience, take each skill and link to the experiences you have, then explain what you achieved using the skill. For example, in my role, and this is similar to yours, Hannah, as a mentor, I was able to support New Year 7 students as they transitioned into secondary school. So I might not have had a job, but I've explained what I had to go and do. That was my communication skills there as well. I was able to listen. I was able to use my active listening and empathy to help reassure them with the concerns and help them more positive life experience. So there, I've actually shown some of the skills I had to use there to communicate with these year 7s as well. That was a long time ago, but I'm not going to get into that.
So other experiences, and this is where these are the things that are really within your gift, right? So other experiences such as volunteering, certification, and hobbies. And this is how you can start to set yourself apart on your CV. As a young adult, a lot of CVs will be very similar, but then it's what you've done extra and above that you can really demonstrate here. So volunteering, whether that is within your college, whether that is within something that you do outside, it could be something you do with your church, it could be something that you do with a club that you're a part of. These are really good experiences to put on your CV, because what they're showing is that you are proactive. So you don't just go to school and come home. You're proactive. You are always wanting to learn. So you are a person who's quite, wanting to learn new things. But also it gives you skills that you may not be exposed to at school. So if you volunteer at your church and you help run Sunday school, then that is leadership, that is people management, that is communication skills. There's so many skills that you can draw from them things, and that's with someone who hasn't got much work experience, that can play a really vital part to your CV. Any additional certifications? So I used to do is it the Duke of Edinburgh?
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah, they still do that. I've got a bronze.
Yeah, I got a bronze as well, but you know, that's great to put on your CV. If they still do Duke of Edinburgh, if they do the Prince's Trust Awards, if they do anything like that that you can get involved in, or your school gets involved, as you are now moving into the world of work, it's really important to, you know, to try and do them things. And then hobbies as well, like we talked about, on if you love editing, if you've got a YouTube channel, if you've anything like that that you can add, it's really, really important to put on that. And I'd just like to add at this point that this for me then comes into where we start to be strategic, right? And so strategic is when you start to really plan what you're going to do and how you're going to do and how you're going to execute it. For me, being strategic on your CV and in life is really, really important. So if you know that, you know, in a year or 2 years time you're going to be applying for roles in large corporations, startup businesses, then be strategic about the next 2 years. Think about what certificates do you need to get, what volunteering opportunities are going to get you, you know, in front of them employers, what's going to make your CV stand out, and use that strategy. And you can do that in a really simple short, medium and long-term plan to really start to plan ahead. So don't just wait for it to land on your lap. You know, you really need to be thinking 1 year, 12 months, 18 months ahead, and thinking about what strategic moves can you make to further your career. Brilliant. Sorry, Lawrence, I talk so. To stop me, yeah?
No. I'm finding this all useful, and I'm sure the crowd are finding it useful too. So please do not apologize. This is why we put you on today, because you're an expert in what you're doing. So yeah, please do not apologize. Only thing I would add to that is also if you do travel, speak about this, about how you, when you did travel, you know, about different cultures as well. Anything that you are proud of and that is going to be relevant potentially to the job that you're applying for, showcase it. It's not a time to be shy. I think sometimes, you know, I was like, oh, I don't really like talking about myself. But the main thing is you've worked hard, and you put that down, put whatever you've done that is relevant. And also what I would like to add to that is, with my degree, I actually did a sandwich degree. I don't know if it's still called that. So I think they call it a placement degree, a replacement work placement.
Lawrence, we're showing our age with all this, you know.
I'm telling you, we are. So it's a work placement essentially, which is part of your degree. And I think that helped me getting some experience alongside my degree, potentially put me ahead of other people who hadn't had that experience. But equally, other people were actively doing work over the summer in and around their industry. It might not have been their final destination. They might have just been in a magazine company and they want to be an editor, but they were just a runner, for example. But allowing them to have exposure to that environment would give them more content to talk about on their CV, and when they do go off to their interviews as well. So look out for internships, work placements over the summer as well. There are tons of them, and hopefully Hannah will speak about them as well at her bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come to the next slide. Oh, we just got a question that's come up, and it's come at the right stage actually, because we do have questions. So Patricia just asked a question. I'm just going to flag that up here now. So I'm not sure this is relevant. It's always relevant. No questions unrelevant. But with experience, what amount of impact will work experience get you, and what work experience do you recommend? Good question. Really good question.
Yeah. So I suppose there's two sides, and this is just my opinion. So work experience will get you so far. But a lot of the other things as well we talked about equally, and I think there's not one rule for everyone. There's no one solution. Work experience demonstrates that you're able to work in a working environment, that you're able to work with people, you're able to work in a team, you're able to, you know, complete tasks that have been asked of you. But that's also, you know, it is paired up with the skills that you have, and so therefore it should be seen as a package. You know, work experience is really important. If you don't have it, you should be really looking at the skills in your environment and the type of things that you've got involved in. But if you do have it, it's a great opportunity for you to showcase what you are like in a working environment. So really, really good questions. What work experience do you recommend? Again, this goes back to, and I call this a skill set analysis, but when you go back and you do some work on your skills, and you then look at your passions as well, because for me, and this is probably when you're further on in your careers, you should be thinking about working in an environment that you're passionate about, working on things that you are passionate about, because that gets the best out of you. So to me, if you are thinking about work experience and you kind of know that, I'm really passionate about human resources, I like working with people, I'm really interested in about moving into a HR role, then your work experience should be something that is, it doesn't have to be directly a direct link to that, but it's something around it, whether that's working with people, whether that is working in a HR firm, or working in a firm that's got a HR function. I think there should always be a link. Sometimes there ain't. My first work experience when I was at secondary school was in an accountant's firm. And so very different to what I had, but I put it on my CV, and then when I was asked about it in my first interview, I just talked about the soft skills that it brought me: bookkeeping, dealing with people, etc.
Thank you, Hannah. I think that's really important on what you just said there. And I think the main thing is to be able to speak about your experience and what you learned from it as well. And also take work experience as not I need to get in the industry that I want. It doesn't have to be that. It can also be actually, I find that I don't actually like working in this industry. This wasn't for me. It's actually a way to find yourself as well. So that's another thing I wish I had done, is that I wish I'd done a variety of work experience, is to actually find what I like, and you don't have to find it straight away. Got another question, and I think it's an interesting one because I think a lot of us have done this babysitting, and does it count? And I think absolutely it counts. Hannah, so Hannah, what's your view on this?
I think really good question. I think as long as you can draw out the skills that you have, and as a babysitter, I have 3 kids, so I definitely know that there are a number of skills that you have to draw out. I think it's important to draw them out. So, if you do say that, babysitting, then talk about that, what you had to do, and just be really clear about the skills that you've had to use, whether that is juggling multiple tasks.
Yes.
Great way to put feeding and iPad and everything. Or if it's about communication, and that's communication with the parents, and that responsibility that comes with, it's just about making sure that you articulate your skills. And so really good point, because you could see something as babysitting as like, oh no, that's not really relevant, but think about the skills that you have to draw out when you're doing it. So yeah, thanks for that question.
No problem. And I think just to add to that is one of the key skills that come from that is patience. A lot of patience.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
question. Oh, that's saying okay. Thank you for that. So that really did help. I'm glad that helped you, Patricia.
Awesome. For sure.
We're just gonna go on to the next slide.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Awesome. So here we are talking about the actual construct of a CV. So you've got your contact details, you've got an open summary, which I like to call it a personal statement. You've got your education, you've got work experience, and you've got key strengths and skills. So we've kind of touched on all of them earlier on. The one we haven't really touched on, and Lawrence, it'd be good to get your thoughts as well, is around opening summary, which I call your personal statement. And when I talk to my colleagues or my teams or any of my clients, and we're talking about personal statement, I always say that the personal statement is the first opportunity your employer has to find out who you are as a person. They know what your work experience is, you've listed it. They know what your education is, you've listed it. They know what your key skills are. Who are you? So I am an honest, I am a reliable, I am an enthusiastic professional. I enjoy, these are the words that come out. I enjoy, I'm enthusiastic, I'm passionate. This shows the type of person that you are. And so therefore, this is where people start to think about, oh, okay, so, will this person gel with my team? And I use the word gel rather than fit because it's not about fitting, it's not about everyone being the same. It's about gelling. It's about what do you bring to the table that I don't have already? Is it enthusiasm? Are you charismatic? Sorry, I can't speak today. Are you charismatic? Are you passionate? What are you passionate about? What are your values? In your opening summary, which is a personal statement, in my opinion, that is where you really are able to showcase who you are as a person. And that way, when the employees are reading it, they can start to imagine what type of person they would like to join their team.
Totally agree with everything you've just said. And I think one of the things that I would give this scenario is that imagine you have an employer and they have one vacancy and they have 1,000 CVs to read and only a few minutes before their next meeting. Okay. You've got to figure out how to capture their attention. So I kind of call this your elevator pitch. You're in a lift and you've only got a certain amount of time before they get off. You know what stop that person's going to get off, right? And you've got to catch them in that moment. So it might be a minute. So you've got to think about actually, like Hannah said, is what makes me stand out. We can have a drawer full of silver paper clips, but I want you to be that red paper clip that's unique and stands out. So you just got to think about that. What sets you apart from other people? Because we've all got something that sets us apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next slide. So this is more kind of going into what should actually appear on there, because I am aware that some of the students we have, this will be their first CV that they're going to create. And feel free to, if I miss anything out, to add anything on there. So you've got your contact information, which is pretty self-explanatory, your name, your address, your phone numbers. So sometimes do put down your house number just in case, something might happen to your mobile phone. I know people don't really use that much, but just in case, you don't want to give a reason to miss that opportunity, and your email address. Then you might have optional is your nationality, age, and driving license, because there might be a job that actually requires a driving license. I'm not sure. Hannah's looking at me going there. I should have. There's something.
I don't know. I just think there's something about adding age and nationality that just doesn't. I don't know. I suppose it depends on where you're going, like what employer you're applying for. But I think in order to make sure that your CV is looked at, for everything that you've put on in terms of your key skills and your education, I would refrain, from putting age or nationality on there, because it shouldn't actually matter what age, and it's not required by law. So really, really important is your name, your address, your telephone number, and also your email address. Now, I would like to say this just because I remember what my first email address was. I think it was something like Hannah loves B2K.
Right. Hannah, they don't know what B2K is, probably. It's a boy band.
It's equivalent to Hannah loves Spice Girls at hotmail.com, right?
Again, Spice Girls, Hannah.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that your email needs to be appropriate. So my son, he's only 12. His email is name.surname@gmail.com. Really simple. It's probably going to be the same. You're not going to get a lot of people that have it, and if you do, then you just add your year of your birth. So name.surname08@gmail.com. It's just a really sensible email to have, because obviously if you're sending this out to the masses of employers, you want them to see you as a professional, and so therefore keep your personal emails to yourself for your, for all of your stuff that you do, but then make sure that you have a work email that's a professional email, and the safest bet is normally name.surname.
Yeah, brilliant advice. I wish I had that as well.
Yeah.
And I think we've gone over this in terms of the opening summary and how important it is. But it's kind of to tell yourself and to remember to be human. I think that's one of the things that they want to see your personality, so show that in your opening summary as well. I think that's that bit for me there. I don't know if there's anything you want to add, Hannah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the fact that it says be human. It's so important. That's why I say, because I have seen some CVs when I've reviewed them, and the personal statement is very technical. I am an accountant, I do this, I do that, I do that. And it doesn't bring the human out. I know that you're technical because you've given me a CV. This is an opportunity to tell the employer who you are, what do you enjoy, why are you passionate about things, and that's really, really important. So I would just say be human for me is a huge one. So yeah, thank you.
Work experience, I'll leave this one to you.
So again, we talked about work experience, haven't we? We've talked about the fact that you may not have direct work experience, but you will have some experiences that you can draw on. In terms of construct, it's really important. So the most recent at the top, and this may not be relevant, but I would always say no more than 5 years, because if you think about the world 5 years ago, it's completely different. So therefore, the skills that you may have had at your first job may not be relevant now. So you want to keep your CV really, really tight, really, really relevant, 2 pages maximum. And so therefore, most recent at top, the company that you worked for, the job title, the dates, the key projects, and results. Love that you've got results on there, because that's really, really important. Don't be afraid to shout about all this good stuff that you've done. Don't be afraid to shout about all of the achievements that you've made. I know sometimes it can be difficult to talk about yourself, but it's really, really important. Make sure you use I, not we, because then it shows that you are taking accountability for the actions that you did, and it's really, really important. And then, as we've said already, include volunteer work if relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I think this is literally what it says on the tin, your education and your achievements. But they don't just have to be your academic achievements, but also any professional qualifications. So there are a lot of online courses that you can take online, and you can get a certificate for that as well. So please do list those down on your CV. And like if you did get the Duke of Edinburgh Award, or another award that you've done part of your extracurricular, please put that on there as well. I think it's really important to do so. And again, most recent at the top as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we've gone over this. So your key skills. What are you great?
Sorry.
No, go on. That's fine.
I was just going to say that your key skills should absolutely be underneath your opening summary, because when you're sending in your CV, remember that's thousands and thousands of people are also sending in their CVs, and so recruiters and employers do not have the time to go through everyone's CV. If your key skills are at the bottom or on the second page, it just may get missed. So your name, opening summary, key skills straight away. What are you good at? Why should you look at this CV? And then your work experience.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Lauren.
No, that's completely fine. And like I keep on saying, you're the professional here, and like I said, we're lucky to have you on here. And I'm taking notes in terms of what I may have thought. So here are a couple of layouts of CVs, and now I'm a bit worried because where you said they should be. But I kind of put these CVs out there in terms of year 10 students, year 11, year 12s, writing out their first CV. So I just think there are very varied options of how they could be as well. Yeah. I mean, Hannah, out of these layouts, what would you say is the one you would say for someone who's just starting out, should they go for potentially?
Yeah. I would say the middle one. Okay, I think contact, opening summary and experiences, but I like the key skills there right at the top. Education is important, it has to be put on there, so that's for further down, and references as well. I would say that middle one kind of hits the mark. Experience is really important, key skills are really important, and your opening summary. So I would definitely say that would be my favorite.
Okay, brilliant. So we've just gone through the layout of it. We're not going to have enough time to jump onto creating your cover letter, but what I will do is I will publish the slides in the description of the video, because there's going to be a recording of this and you'll be able to view the slides too. But just while we've got you here, Hannah, is Could you talk to us a bit about kind of your journey and how you got to your role? Because we know, from what you told me, it's not the most traditional route.
No, it's not. Yeah, absolutely. So I won't take long because I'm just conscious of time. But as I said earlier, I joined Barclays when I was 17, and I was just working full time. Hadn't gone to college or university. And then about 3 years into Barclays, I decided that actually it was really important to go to university. So that's definitely a message. And so I then started to inquire about how I could leave Barclays to go and start my university degree. And at the time, as they're still up till today, Barclays was offering what they now call a Barclays degree program, which is a 3 years BA honours in management and leadership degree with the Anglia-Ruskin University in Cambridge, and it's a fully sponsored degree. So the applications open in September, October, I believe. If you just type in Barclays degree program online, you'd be able to read much more about it. It's a work-based degree, so you work with Barclays alongside doing your degree, and they give you skills in management and leadership. And once you finish the program, you actually you are then positioned to get a management role. So after I finished the program, I then came off the program and became a branch manager. I was a branch manager for 2 years, and then after that I then became an area manager for business banking in East London, and I looked after 16 business managers remotely, looking after small businesses from 0 to 400k. I then moved into our head office in Canary Wharf and led a project team looking at colleague experience, which looks at how do we make sure that our colleagues, are getting a great experience working for the organisation. I did that again for another 3 years, and in that time I learned some real key skills, and this was me being very strategic. And so this was going back to my point about being strategic. I knew that I needed head office experience. I knew that I needed experience with people to be able to move into HR. So after 3 years of working in that role, I was successfully promoted into a vice president role, which is what I've got at the moment. And now I look after diversity and inclusion globally as a global diversity and inclusion manager. And diversity and inclusion is all around making sure that my organisation is a fair and diverse place to work for all colleagues globally, which is in America, in the UK, and in our Asia Pacific.
Wow, that's a lot, and done absolutely fantastic. Me and Hannah actually went to school together, and like every time I do get this chance to speak to her, I'm just in awe of what she's done and what she's achieved through her hard work and determination. So I want to say a big thank you to Hannah for coming on today and sharing her expertise with us. There's just one question. I know you're pressed for time, and it's just been asked by 4 different students. So I'm just going to flag that up there. What does a reference mean?
So a reference is is almost like a guarantor. It's somebody who can vouch for you. So if I was going to work in another organization, I would have to put Barclays down as my reference because they are the people that I've worked for before. It is illegal to give a bad reference. You just need to give a reference. It will be standard questions that are asked to be put on a reference to give to another employer. In your case, your reference would normally be your school or your college, and they would be able to say, what would you like with your time management? What are your key attributes? There's a number of things that are put on a reference template, but it is just, someone who can vouch for you and your CV. So that's why it's important to be honest on your CV.
Absolutely. And you've answered this question of who can use a reference. So it's like you were thinking ahead anyway to that question. So once again, Hannah, I want to say a big thank you to you. I've certainly learned a lot, and I hope the audience have learned a lot. I will put your social media for your business in the description of the video. Please do read out Hannah. The work she does with young people and their CVs and building that is absolutely fantastic, and it's our pleasure to actually have you on this platform. So thank you guys, and thank you for tuning in. There will be a pre-recording of this as well. There will be a recording of this, should I say, after the video, and it will go live, and you'll be able to watch it back as well. So all I'm left to do is say thank you again to Hannah. And guys, I'll see you at 2 o'clock for our next session where we have a talker from Google. We have a lawyer from Sony Enterprise, and the veterinarian nurse as well. So it's going to be an amazing session. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
Bye.